Welcome to a new episode of the Amista podcast, First Sip, Then Sup. In this podcast series, we'll take you on a journey into the fascinating world of SAP. We'll explore the latest and greatest developments, answer common questions our clients frequently ask, so you know them too, and of course showcase some relatable use cases. But I won't be doing this alone. I'll be joined by colleagues, clients and experts. In this episode, we are diving into artificial intelligence, AI, the biggest trend of 2024. But what's next in 2025? Can AI actually provide value to business? What can you expect in the coming year? And of course, we have a special prize at the end. My name is Coen Sanderink, Business Development Manager at Amista and your host for today. So let's take a sip and then start. My guest today is Cedric van Holsbeke. So welcome. You're the CTO at Amista. Your first podcast?
Yes, indeed.
Okay. Little bit nervous?
A little bit.
A little bit.
It's okay.
But I think you will manage. I'm sure. So can you please introduce yourself?
So I'm Cedric. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at Amista, where I'm responsible for IT, product development, and also innovation. Okay. And of course, AI is now a big part in how we do innovation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you would say, okay, there's a guy who comes in, AI gets popular and he comes in, but that's not really the case. So I've been involved with artificial intelligence already quite some time. So 12 years ago, I finished my PhD in medical images, where I already used machine learning and deep learning to assess the outcome for patients of a specific therapy. So I'm already in there for quite some time.
Okay. PhD. I really admire people who did your PhD, because once I also had that plan, but when I saw what you have to do for it, I thought, no, nothing for me. But still, I really admire it. But you also said that you're not new to AI, but AI or machine learning, it's also a field that is already quite old. It's 1970s, if I'm correct. So it's 55 years. That it's already old, so it's not really new in that sense.
No, indeed. So the theory is indeed already from the 70s, I think even before. But a lot of that stayed with theory, and it has two reasons. I think one of that was, at that time, we didn't have the computing power to bring it into practice. Mm-hmm. And even more important, we didn't have the data. Okay,
yeah, now we have the internet, so we have a lot of data. Okay. Let's dive to the first section, the What's New section. In this section, we provide updates on the latest and greatest from SAP, since SAP offers a wide range of products. And today we're focusing on AI. That's part of the business technology platform. But I will also be integrated across the line of business solutions of SAP. If you want to learn more about the business technology platform, then please subscribe to our podcast. And there you can watch and listen to another episode where we explain the business technology platform together with my colleague Michiel Neefs. Today we talk about AI. We've heard a lot about it in recent years. It suddenly seems to be everywhere, from my dishwasher to my car and everything in between. So Cedric, let's set the scene a little bit. What's reality? What's true? What's not yet true? Please enlighten us.
It's a very good question, because indeed AI is a hype. It's also a marketing term, and everybody does AI.
Yeah, exactly. It's a marketing term.
Yes,
yeah,
indeed. Everybody does AI. So to be fair, AI has a lot of possibilities, had a lot of potential, but at this point, it hasn't reached its full potential yet in business. However, there are like two specific things where AI can already help your business today. And I think the first one is what everybody already uses, ChatGPT. So you use an AI as a digital assistant to assist you in your own work. Mm-hmm. So I use it all the time for brainstorming, for getting my thoughts onto paper, but also, for example, if I have to write an email to a colleague from another culture, I always ask the AI, okay, this person is from India, it's a high impact culture, is my phrasing correct, or will that person feel not feel at ease when he reads my mail. So
I always use it also to write mails to customers, for example, but also to create podcast scripts to help me write. I just write the draft and then put it into ChatGPT, and then he just makes a nice script of it, and it's in good English, and et cetera, et cetera. So it also makes you a little bit lazy. But we're talking about generative AI.
Yeah.
We also have, that wasn't there in the 70s, it was more machine learning, and it's also a little bit mixed. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Well, indeed. What people now call AI, they mostly talk about generative AI. While indeed AI was already before, that was more than machine learning. I think the main difference there is also the democratization. Like with machine learning, it's very useful, for example, for analyzing data, but you really have to train the model from scratch. Mm-hmm. While now the generative AI, it's based on foundation models. They already have a lot of knowledge about the world. So you can really bootstrap. You stand on the shoulders of the giants who already made it for you. So that's a big difference.
Okay. And how do we see the future?
Yeah. So as I said, there's a lot of research going on in AI. I think Europe now secured a 200 billion investment into AI. The USA with the Starlink project, I think, is 500 billion. So the billions are going everywhere. So there's a lot of research going on. There's a lot of evolution. I think the first one is agentic AI, where instead of using AI in a specific part of a process, that it can really take decisions and handle a complete end-to-end process. That's a lot of research going on there. And the second trend that's really we will see in the future is a better integration of AI into a whole enterprise ecosystem. While it's now AI does a specific job, it will now try to combine different data sources together. For example, in SAP, AI is embedded in the ERP, but also in the CRM, also in the field service management. And AI has then a data business cloud, which can really homologize and import all the data from your whole organization. And that has a consequence. For example, if you use it in combination with the digital assistant of SAP, Joule, that a business leader, he can ask a question in natural language, and the AI can answer you based on all the data of your whole company. So it gives you really a holistic view of your business.
So if I understand you right, basically what you're doing, you use the foundational models you just mentioned, so the models that are behind the generative AI, and you extend them with business data.
Yes, indeed.
And that's the business data cloud. And then you can use Joule to ask questions.
Yes.
Okay, but how does Joule, which is basically the chat client of SAP, is integrated into, for example, S/4HANA, their ERP system? How does that relate to agentic AI? Is that an agentic AI agent or?
Yeah. So Joule is a word that covers a lot of things. But if we really see how it technically works, Joule is indeed the chatbot, which translates your questions into an action. Mm-hmm. But the action is not done by Joule, but are done by other AIs. And there are indeed agentic AIs which do specific tasks. So you answer a question, you give a question to Joule. Joule will check, okay, which AI can I use to perform that action? Mm-hmm. The action will be performed. The answer will be fed back to Joule, and Joule then translates that answer into a human understandable outcome.
Okay, so am I saying it correct that if you can build those agentic AIs on a business technology platform and integrate them into Joule, and then use Joule as an interface to ask all kinds of questions?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, well, then it's clear to me. I also hope to our listeners. But what do we do from an Amista point of view?
Yeah, we do a lot from an Amista point of view. So we have been awarded by SAP as one of the pioneers in AI, and we've done quite some things.
And
there.
The award was that nice sweater?
Yes, indeed. So we also participated in the SAP Next Level BTP and AI program.
Yeah,
where we went with 20 consultants that really created generative AI applications that drive business value. So we created 5 of them, 5 SAP validated partner use cases. It's a long name that really wanted to create value for our customers. So there are 5 of them, and there may be 2 that I want to highlight. Yeah. One that's very easily understandable for everybody, and one that's more technical. So the first one that we made was the email classification bots.
Mm-hmm.
So every business leader, they have an info at email box. And it's a garbage bin. If somebody doesn't know who to email in your company, they just email info at. So there are invoices in there. There are prospects requirements in there. There are from people from hiring. So there are resumes in there. So
a lot of spam, probably.
Yeah, a lot of spam. So everything goes into that info email box. And in most companies, nobody is really responsible for following that up, or maybe they do it once a week or something. So mails stay there for quite some long time before they reach the right person. So what we did is just write a bot that classifies these emails automatically and sends them to the right person, which has a lot of business value because you don't need somebody who always monitors that box, which also does not always have the knowledge of the context of that email. Plus, the email gets faster transferred to the right person. Yeah. So that's one of the cases.
That's a very useful case. Did you already implement that at customers? Or do we use it ourselves, or is it just a part of the program?
That was just a part of the program. There are other cases that we really implemented in production as a customer, or that we use ourselves. And maybe another example of something that we use ourselves is our master data importer, which is more an assistant for our consultants. So if you want to migrate your ERP system to another ERP system, let's say you're a company who uses SAP Business One, you outgrow it and you want to migrate to S/4HANA Public Edition, your data needs to be transferred. However, these two ERP systems, they have different data models. So it's not that easy to just map the data from that one ERP to the other. So now our consultants, they are trying to figure out, okay, what does this mean here? Okay, how do I need to map it?
A lot of manual work.
A lot of manual work there. So what we did is have an AI that already gives a suggestion for a mapping. It says, I think this needs to map on that. And the consultant can then validate it or correct it. And in the end, it gives you back some reusable deterministic code that you can reuse all the time. So if you do data import in steps or incremental, the same consultant can reuse that code. The big advantage is that also a functional consultant can be in lead of a data migration project, while now you always need a team of technical consultants. So it can really help there.
Yeah, it can really optimize the process, of course. Okay, that's very interesting. So basically, the SAP Build Partner, which is on your sweater for the people who are only listening, and the program we use as Amista also to form our thought, to learn what we can do with the technology, but also to implement it in our own company, basically.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. Well, I think that we covered quite good what's new, what people can do with it. So let's go to the Q&A, because we often get questions from our customers, and it's time to answer them. And I can already tell you there are quite some questions. So let's first have a short sip, and then we can go to the questions, Cedric. The first one, and we already touched a little bit on that, is AI is everywhere in SAP, in the line of business solutions like S4, Ariba, SuccessFactors, but also on a business technology platform. What is the difference? Can you make that crisp and clear for our customers? Listeners.
Maybe you can make an analogy with a hardware store. So in a hardware store, you can buy ready-to-use furniture, for example, a door. But you can also buy wood, you can buy drilling machines to make a door yourself. So let's make that abstraction. So the AI that is integrated in the line of business, it's ready-made AI or a half fabricate, let's call it like that. So you can use it as is. You can also configure it towards your own needs, but you cannot use it really to optimize or to automate a very specific business process that only you have. So these are more these general AI models. They have been validated by SAP, and they are specific in that line of work. The tools that are on BTP, that are really just individual building blocks that you, or for example, a partner like Amista can use to make tailored solutions for your problem. So they have all these AI building blocks which you can combine to a full process or a full solution.
Okay, that's interesting. And that's basically the wood that you can use to build the door.
Indeed.
Did you listen to our AI podcast?
I'm here at the AI podcast.
Yeah, oh, sorry, at the BTP podcast.
Yes,
sorry.
indeed, I did.
Yeah, exactly, because there we gave that example. So if you want to know where they're talking about, then listen to the podcast and subscribe to it. Okay, that's clear, at least to me. As next question, as a small or medium-sized enterprise, how can I start with AI? Because using the tools, I don't know how to use the wood to build a door, but maybe I can just use the door. So where to start?
Yeah, indeed. I would recommend start with the door. And especially start small. Try to use AI as a part of a very specific business process. An example, Amista, we have a software platform called AP Connect, which is Accounts Payable Connect, which uses AI to recognize invoices, to match them with purchase orders, etc. So it's really a validated AI. We validated it, it's tested, and it's just something which ends into your existing business process. And I would recommend using quite some of these in your existing business process to get some insights in what's the strength, but also what are the weaknesses, because AI is not perfect. And only then, after a while, you can also start dreaming about really to interweave it in your whole process and to try building a door yourself.
Okay, so start small with out-of-the-box solutions, so you can get some experience, and then you can use that experience to fine-tune it with the tools you have. Okay, that sounds very good advice. You also had about data migration. There's a lot of business data in there. I also feed business data to the generic AI, so I don't want that my competitors can use that data. So how is it with data and privacy? Yeah? Because everything what you feed in a free version of ChatGPT, it's basically used to train a model. We also had DeepSeek, which is shocked the market a few weeks ago. With a very small model trained on less data and with less CPU power. But there were some real privacy and data concerns. So how should we deal with that?
It's a very good question. Especially when you're a European company, you really have to take these things into consideration, because we have quite stringent laws about GDPR, but also indeed competitors using your data. So very good question. Now, if we split back the door and the wood, if you use, for example, the embedded AI and SAP, there's no risk. SAP makes sure that the models that you use are private to you. They're in European data centers. And also the models that they have, SAP has quite stringent ethical rules about this AI. So if you use just what's in SAP, there's no risk for you. So you can use them without being worried. However, if you want to use individual AI tools to build your own business case, you have to take care a little bit more. And indeed, as you said, if you just use the OpenAI or the DeepSeek, you might get into trouble. However, these individual models, they can also run, for example, on SAP BTP, which guarantees that your data is safe and secure. But also, for example, another partner can be Microsoft Azure. You have then a contract with SAP and Microsoft, and they guarantee that your data is yours, it stays in Europe, and it doesn't leak.
Okay, well, that's good. So that's a very good reason to use BTP or Microsoft Azure, the business technology platform, as your basis. How do I stay up to date? Because it's, you already said it in your introduction, it's going so fast nowadays. How do I stay up to date? Do you have any tips? How do you stay up to date, basically?
It's very, very difficult to stay up to date, especially if it's not your core business. And even if it's your core business, it's also very difficult because there's news everywhere and there's also a lot of nonsense in there. If it's not your core business, I would say if you want to stay up to date, try to go in interaction with partners whose core business it is. For example, if you go into interaction with Amista, we're always try to stay up to date. So go in interaction with us, but also maybe follow us on the socials. We like this podcast, for example, but also on our LinkedIn, we try to post something around AI, and especially we try to translate that technology into the business value it can mean.
Yeah, of course. And you mentioned the business cases. We have 5. We only discussed 2. We put a link in the show notes where we have where you can find the other 3 business cases. we made for the SAP Build Partner event, of course. Okay, we're at the end of the Q&A, basically. Do you have anything to add? That spontaneously you said, okay, this is maybe something...
Well, maybe something I would like to add is that although it's still a very evolving world, that for business leaders it's important to be on the boat, because it will really revolutionize your business. It's going on an exponential speed, and you cannot stay behind because it will change every business. And if you want to remain competitive or now have a competitive advantage, it's really important for you to be on that train.
Yeah, start experimenting with it.
Yes.
I mean, take a subscription on ChatGPT, for example, and just start using it and see how you can embed it and start using it. That's, I think, the most low key you can do. Okay, then we are at the end. In this episode of our podcast, First Sip, Then Sup, we talked about AI, answered common questions from our listeners. And although we might have given you an idea what AI can do for your organization, you will probably have some questions. And that's where the prize is about, because can you elaborate on that? What is the prize?
Well, we have a specific prize for our listeners. So every company has a lot of documents. So documents is like a sort of it carries data that's used in a business process. That's the definition of a document. However, everybody has a lot of them. It can be invoices or sales orders, but it can also be very specific documents, like dangerous good declarations if you're like in shipping and in containers. So a lot of these documents are still not digitized. They are in paper or they are PDF, but also PDF is not, it's a digital format, but it's not a machine readable format. So one of the prizes that we would give is that we would come to your company and try to digitize and create a workflow for one of your core documents.
Okay. So that's really the small use case we were talked about where you can start. We use standard technology for that. And that's basically an experiment you can do to see how you can optimize your process. That's very interesting. If you're triggered by that, then you can mail a motivation and your name and company to podcast@amista.com. And we pick a winner each month for the period of a year. And then we're at the end, Cedric. So thank you very much for being here. I think it was really worthwhile. It enlightened me really about AI, but also about SAP. And for our listeners, don't forget to subscribe. And I hope to welcome you in our next podcast. Bye.
Thank you very much, Coen.